Hello and welcome to another devlog. Today we're going to be going over attributes, which are your player stats, so your health, your armor, your attack damage, etc. So before we do that, we're going to go into the changes I've made to combat. So in vanilla, if we spawn a cow and you hit a cow, you'll notice it turns red. Obviously, everyone's played Minecraft, everyone's seen the red. But what does that red mean? It indicates that the cow has invincibility. Temporarily, of course, for 20 ticks, which is about 1 second. So if I keep hitting the cow, you'll see those red iframes basically coming up. Now, this is great in vanilla because it prevents you from taking a certain amount of damage, and I guess it prevents mobs as well from taking a certain amount of damage. So it's beneficial for me and you, and less so beneficial when we're trying to kill things. So, what if we took said iframes and removed them? Well, we get this. So, with iframes removed, you can now pretty much attack as fast as you can click. This is great, but will need to be tweaked in the future to prevent abuse when you're swinging, let's say, a big sword versus a little sword. So if you're swinging, big sword and doing big damage, you don't want that person to be able to swing that big sword as fast as a little sword. So attack speed will be coming in the future, which will limit the damage output per second you get from swinging to basically avoid a 1.8 PvP meta. But like on steroids, instead of 1 click per second, you need to do 20. So again, that will be a non-problem because it will be changed in the future. But what this does allow is if you have, let's say, 10 guildmates and there's one guy you want to murder, you can all use abilities at the same time, and the chance that you all hit the guy at the exact same time and don't do any damage is pretty much nullified now. So now you have a much higher chance of just hitting him and killing him, which is great. Not so great for him, but great for you. So that's the first change. The second change, if we go into survival, is I've upped the maximum amount of hearts you can have. So vanilla limits this to 1024. I have raised this to 1,000,000. And I can raise it higher if I so like. Now, this doesn't have any real effect right now, but it will in the future when more gear and everything comes out and we start testing combat. This is ugly, but will be going away eventually when I get around to either removing it or we get the SAO UI into the game. Now, you can see that my weapons have stats. So this two-handed weapon gives 46 strength, 20 stamina, and 87 bonus HP. The strength gives you more damage, the stamina more HP, and the bonus HP, as stated, is just 87 bonus health. So, these stats are great, and what they mean will come in a later video, because there's a lot of stats to go over, a lot of different things to explain with them, and it's all too much for one video here. So, I can go and explain quite simply in visuals how this is going to work. So if you equip a two-handed weapon, you get the stats from it. If you equip a one-handed weapon, you get the stats from it. If you swap between two weapons, you lose the health. All the other stats you will gain. For now, this might change in the future if this becomes an abusive thing that people can abuse, but you'll gain all the stats, but the health you will not. So if you switch between two weapons, you will just lose the health. Your health will stay the same and your cap will increase. So you'll have to regen all those hearts, which is why I have regeneration on to show you this effect. So, you might say, why would I equip a one-handed weapon that has 25 strength, 13 stamina, and 50 bonus health when I could equip a weapon with 46, which is almost double? The reason is because the second weapon that you can have two one-handers, because then you have two hands, right? This takes two hands, this takes one hand. So you can put in your other slot, which does nothing immediately, because you're currently wielding a two-handed weapon. But if we switch to a one-handed weapon, So now we're dual wielding effectively. We now get more stats than we do if we had Greatsword equipped. The reason for this will come in a later video, but for right now, it's just more of a visual representation of two-handing versus one-handing. Or rather, two-handed weapon versus two one-handed weapons. So, again, those stats come in a later video, and I don't want to get into too much detail into that because there's a lot missing from these weapons. These are very, very basic weapons. They're missing a lot of stats, and attack speed isn't in yet, so that's coming soon. But that's effectively most of the basic mechanics out of the way. The last one, and I think the most important one to me at least, is in Minecraft PvP, you have to deal with the screen shake. Whenever you take damage, your screen shakes, your character goes and you get slowed. It's a little bit of a slow. So if you get poisoned, you get slowed. So if you can't tell what I'm getting at, I've removed this. So if we give myself, let's give myself poison for 10 seconds. That's 101 seconds, but that's fine. You can see it has absolutely no effect on my movement. This is great because it allows more complex effects. I can give a poison effect, but I can also give a slowing poison. I can give a burn effect, and I can give a slowing burn effect. It allows for a lot better control, and the person getting debuffed, while they do get the debuff, they won't feel as negatively impacted as before. They won't have the screen shake or anything. And this also applies to getting damage from any source. So if you're taking damage from a mob, a player, status, anything, you will not see the screen shake. And then again, this is very important as well because when you're taking damage 20 times as fast, you're going to get 20 times as much screen shake. So it'll get even more ridiculous. And so to alleviate this, I have removed the screen shake. So you can see that no matter how fast I take damage, I just don't shake. And it's great. And that covers pretty much everything so far. The next video will... This is so ridiculous. Are you doing okay, Steve? Yeah, me neither. Anyways, the next video will probably cover stats in very high detail. This video is more to show what I've done so far, just a mini dev update before I put up a bigger one, which will cover stats. Everything's subject to change, like everything could change as I say in this video, but this is the current path that everything's going on. It seems to be going well. Stats update just fine. And besides a couple visual bugs, everything on the back end looks really solid. And then I can continue to go forward and move on to other things like skills, which will be a lot of fun. And I don't know whether I'm going to use a plugin or do them manually. We'll find out when we get to that bridge. Armor has to be done, and then once armor is done and attack speed's in, there might be a couple tests. I'm not going to apply a beta. I'm not going to apply an alpha tag. They're just going to be a test to test some really core weapon systems to make sure everything just works fine, equipping, de-equipping, etc. It just feels good. And with that, I will also probably add in eventually item buffs. So from food, because food was the last video. Food is coming. I just had to get the stats in the game so that when you eat a food, it gives you the stats. Anyways, that's all for now. See you in the next one.